Hey, this is Max here, and in this tutorial I want to tell you everything there is to know about forms inside ActiveCampaign. First I will tell you what they are, and then I'm going to show you all the different forms, all the different options, and in the end of this tutorial I'll also show you how you can, for example, deliver a lead magnet and also a cool advanced trick with hidden custom fields inside forms. So let's dive right in. So first of all, what is a form now? I think you already know, so I'll keep it short. So a form is basically like a door to your email list. So someone fills out your form on, for example, your website, and then boom, they're on your email list. Now, what do you usually use them for? So usually you use them so that people can join your email list so that they can, for example, get your newsletter, or maybe to like fill out a form so that they can receive a freebie or a lead magnet, a content upgrade, however you call it. Or maybe even to like request a quote so that someone is like filling out a form with what they want and that they then get an automated response back. Now you can use it for lots of other things, but I think these are like the main things people use it for. So what I want to do is I want to show you around inside ActiveCampaign to show you like what kind of forms there are and also how you can create one. And then we're slowly going to dive a bit deeper into all the form options and also how you can customize your forms. So you can find your forms when you go over to forms and then to view forms. So then you get a little overview like this. As you see, I already created a few forms that I will show you in a bit, but let's first just create a new one from scratch. So to do that, you click create a form and then you can give it a name. So for example, if you want to create a form for some kind of checklist that you have. So for example, the automation checklist, just come up with something random, then I would name it like this so that you can easily know like, okay, hey, this is what this form is for. And then you also have to set some form actions. So you can also change these later on. Usually I do that. But what you can do is here, you can set it, okay, what do you want to do? Now I want to subscribe someone to my main list. And I want to add a tag that says event requested automation checklist, so that based on that tag I can start another automation, which will also show you in a bit how that works. So then we create the form and then you see that we get like a default form like this. It's like, this is like the standard thing that you get. It's not super exciting, I think, but luckily you can like really easily customize this. So what you can do is you can like drag other elements into your form, like a text field or an image field, or a CAPTCHA form or some HTML, etc. You can all do all that. But what I really like to do is to like delete all this so that I just have the form and then I can just create that on my website. So then here, for example, I want to disable the branding. So to do that, I go over to style and then I disable the branding. And then you see that we already have like a form that you can basically place anywhere on your website. And then you can just like add the headlines yourself. So that's how I like to work. But yeah, what you can do here, for example, we have the full name custom field, or like the full name field. So what I want to do is I want to delete that and I want to add the first name field because I'm not interested in people their whole name. I'll just do their first name. So how you do this is totally up to you. And then if you want, you can also change the field header text and also the text inside the custom field if you want. And you can also change like the submit button, like the text that is in that. So in a bit, I will show you a fully customized form. But some things that you have to keep in mind are the form settings. So this is just how you very basically create a form, right? But there are some form options that you have to keep in mind. So you, for example, have to make fields required if you really want people to fill them in. So here we, for example, have the first name custom field, and I really want to know people their first name. So to make this required, you just click the field, and then here you click required. And then people cannot go around it. They have to enter the first name and they also have to enter the email address. Now, the next one is that you do not want that blank fields are going to override existing field data. So what that means is that imagine you have another field here and it is not required, so like this, and then someone would only type in their email address and would have submit the form. Then if we already have that person on our email list and we already have their first name, then it's going to override it with nothing because they filled nothing in here. So to do that, you have to disable this. It's very important, I think. So here it says allow blank fields to override existing field data. So you want to disable that if you do not want that. If you only use required fields, then it doesn't really matter because the fields cannot be blank. But so that's something important to keep in mind. Then I think this is really easy to miss, and it is that you have to make sure to set your opt-in options. So you can, for example, disable your double opt-in if you want to. So to do that, you can go over to options and then form actions. And then you see here what we just said when we created the form, that we subscribe someone to our list and that we add a tag. And here it's important that you change your opt-in options. So here you see that we subscribe someone to our main list. And here you see that the opt-in confirmation is on. So what this does is that it will not start any automations. It will not do anything until the person got an email like this and until they clicked a button to confirm their subscription. And myself, I'm not a huge fan of this. I just don't like how these emails look. I think it kills your conversion. I think you can rather make something like this yourself inside an automation. So that's a little bit more advanced. I will leave it for another tutorial, but I would suggest to turn this off and then people just get your email. And then you can do a double opt-in there to see if people are interested in it or not, and if they want to receive more emails from you or not. So I'm going to click save here. So that's that. And then you also want to make sure that people are getting redirected to a welcome page. So you can either have a little message. So here you see under options, you see on submit. Now, what do you want to do? Do you want to show a thank you message? Or do you want to open a URL? Do you want to send them to another page? So you can obviously do this, show thank you. You can just say hey, thanks for signing up. And if you want, you can also customize this message. But I'm a way bigger fan of sending someone to a custom welcome page, because I think this just doesn't look so nice. When someone sees this, I would rather send them to a page on my website. For example, I have this page. This is a welcome page after they download something. And as you see, I think this is way nicer than having some kind of general thank you message. So here they just come on the page. It says, hey, welcome. Your cheat sheet will be there in 5 minutes. In the meanwhile, read the short story below. And in that short story, I just tell a little bit about me so that people already get a feeling of who this weirdo on the internet is, right? So yeah, if you want to do that, then you just copy the URL and then you just paste it in there, and then people will automatically be redirected to that page when they submit the form. Now, then one last one are hidden fields. I will go a little bit deeper into this in a bit, but I quickly want to show you what's possible. So when you have your form, you are able to add a hidden field. So when you go over to fields, my fields, and then show more fields, you will see all the fields that are available. And what I, for example, like to know is that where people come from. So to do that, you can add a hidden field inside your form, and then this field will not show up inside your form, but with a query string. So this for example here, question mark source is, and then for example I would say YouTube, then this field will be populated with YouTube without the person having to fill out anything or even seeing this. So I'll also demonstrate how that works in a bit. So then I want to show you how you can customize your forms. So you can really easily change this. ActiveCampaign is a really simple tool where you can do this with, and you can also add some CSS if you want to. So I want to show you this form that I created, and this form is for my ActiveCampaign cheat sheet. It's actually an actual thing. I will also link to that in the description below. But you can see here that this form already looks way nicer than the other form I just showed you, right? This is just a little bit more space in here. the button is a little bit bigger, the text is like bold, and the text is also bigger. And here we also have our source hidden field. So how do you style it like this? Now to do that, you go to style and you can just already set a few things that you want to do. So here you can set your form style. So that's like how this part will look. So you see here that I, for example, have the background is white, the font color is black, the border of this is like light gray, and then you can also set a corner radius and also how wide those like fields should be. And then you can also style your button. So you see, for example, here that I made my button yellow, the text inside the button is white, and then the corner radius is 4. So that are like these little things here. Like this is like, they call that corner radius. And then you can also add some padding, and that's basically how much space there is around your button. Here you see, if I set it to 50, for example, you see that you suddenly have lots of space. I like to use 15, just feel free to play around with that. And then if you want, you can also add some other things to style your form with CSS. So that works like this. And just a little disclaimer, I'm really not a programmer. I really do not know how to program. I just found these examples on the internet. So feel free to copy this and also use this yourself. But this is for an example. So if I delete it, you'll see how the form looks like. Then the form looks like this. And I think that's already really alright, but it's still not so nice. So what I want to do is I want to remove like the padding, it's basically like the space around the form, so that when I add it to a page on my website, that we do not have that weird like blank space around the form, right? So to do that, you like enter your form here. So you can use the selector to do that. Here, I will do that. You click this, then it gets green, and then you can just select the whole thing. So that's really easy. You just click it, and then ActiveCampaign knows like, okay, here, this is form 3. So I already have it here, so I did not create another one. But then you do not have to worry about how this is called. And then yeah, you have to like understand these things like a little bit. So for example, here, to make sure that there's no padding, no space around the form, you type padding and then like these, and then 0 pixels, and then an exclamation mark, important, and then these things. So you see it here. So this is how you do that. And then I also styled the submit button a little bit. So if I delete this, you can see the original. So the original is like this. And then I set the width, so like how wide the form is, to 100%, the font size to 18 pixels, the font weight to bold, so that the text is bold, and then the font family to open sans. So again, I'm not a programmer. I do not know what any of this means, but you can just like type in these things and also find more examples on the internet. And then you can really easily style this, I think. And then what I, for example, also wanted to do is I wanted to align this in the middle of the field. So you can see here, if I remove that, you see that it goes to the left, right? And if I enter it, it goes to the middle. To do that, you enter text-align center. And then also here, I added some padding so that there is a little bit more space inside the field to make it look nicer. So yeah, it's just like a really simple example of how you can like style your form. So I really like to like have these like simple forms with just like first name field, email address field, and a button. And then I just add them to my website. Now, how do you add them to a website? It's actually really easy. You just click here, integrate. And then there are a couple of different options. You can either just link to your form. I've never used that. I don't really see why you would do that, because then you get like a page that looks like this. It's not so nice, I think, right? You can also use a WordPress plugin to like add your form to your website, but myself, I found that a bit overcomplicated. But if you want to do that, you can like download the plugin, and then I guess it's really easy to do that. And you can also add a form to your Facebook page if you want to. Now, the way that I like best is to just embed the form to your website. Now you can do two things. You can either do like a full embed. So that means you get the complete code of your form and then you add it to your website. But the downside with that is that if you change your form inside ActiveCampaign, it will not automatically update the form on your website. So the easiest solution that I found is to just copy your simple embed. So I'm copying the text now here. And then I would go over to a page on my website. So I have this page, for example, it just says like, thanks for watching, join the list and receive your cheat sheet. And then I want to insert a form here. So it really depends on how you build your website or how you do this. But how I do it, I'm using the Total WordPress theme, and they have the WP or like WP Bakery page builder. And then you can add HTML to your website really easy. So I'm just pasting it in here, and then I drag it over there. Then I click update, and then the form should be there when I go to the page. So let's wait until this is loaded. All right, and then we open the page again. And then you see that our form is there. Pretty cool, right? So then if you would fill it in, so I quickly want to show you what it would look like inside ActiveCampaign. So remember that we have that hidden source field, right? This source. This is a hidden field. So you see here that, you do not see the source field. So again, if you do not have a source field, go over to your fields and create a source field that is a hidden type, because then you can edit like this. You also see there are no settings. You cannot do anything here because it doesn't show up. And then if I would link people to this page, for example, from YouTube, so maybe you're for example watching this video maybe on YouTube, and then you click in the description on a link, and then if I want, I could say here source is YouTube. So then you would land on the page like this, and then the source field will be automatically populated with YouTube. So then I know where you come from. So here, if I would type Lena and then lenado@maxvankollenberg.com. So just like an example, right? And then I would say, send me the cheat sheet. I click it, and then you see that I get redirected to my welcome page. So it says like, okay, cool. You have to wait a few minutes because the automation just takes a few minutes, and then they can read like a quick story. And then if I would go over to my contacts, then you see here that Lena Doe is added. And if we then dive into that, then you see that that tag is added, event requested ActiveCampaign cheat sheet. And then we could start an automation to deliver a lead magnet. And then if we scroll down, you see that the source is YouTube. I think that's really amazing. That's like really cool to know, right? Where people come from, like maybe, enter here your website. You could go even deeper to like add like UTM parameters that you know, like which keywords people use to like land on your website, or there's all kinds of cool things you can do with that. So then what I want to show you is how you actually deliver a lead magnet. So I will not go too deep into this because I have a separate tutorial about that. So be sure to watch that if you want to know how this works. But so Lena in this case got this tag, right? Requested ActiveCampaign cheat sheet. And then you see that this automation will automatically start, and then we send our cheat sheet email, and then we just deliver that email. We wait if they open it. If they don't open the email in 2 days, then this will be resent with a different subject to that person. So again, if you want to know how this works, I have a separate tutorial about that. Be sure to watch that if you want to know how that works. But then I want to show you a cool next level trick. So now you already know quite a lot about forms, and I'm still going to explain you a little bit about the other different types of forms. But what you can do also, what is especially cool if you have different lead magnets. So I, for example, have over 40, maybe even 50 different content upgrades, lead magnets for all my articles, my YouTube videos. So I always make like a content upgrade that's like really relevant to the content. So that's why I have so many different ones. So I do not want to have 40, 50 different forms. And I think even if you have maybe 3 different content upgrades, it's just a good practice to maybe consider doing this, what I'm about to show you, because that way things are just not getting messy. So what you can do is you can create one form for all your lead magnets. So to do that, you do this. So I will open the form, and then you see that the form looks exactly the same, except that you have one extra hidden field. So remember in the beginning of this video, I showed you how to create the source field and the download field. So the source field is to know where people come from, and the download field is to know which download people want. Because then, if you know that, you do not have to set up forms for like all your different lead magnets. You simply add like this query string to your URL, and then the right download will be automatically delivered. So I'll show you how that works. So we have this, right? We added our field, we added our hidden field. And then to make it work, we have to integrate it to our website. So I will copy this and then I will paste it in here. I'll paste it, paste, and then I'm going to update it. Now, then we wait until it's done updating, and then we go back to that page. So now it should be updated. So I will close these, and then I'm going to open it again. And then imagine someone is coming from YouTube, source is YouTube, and then you have to type it like this, and download is ActiveCampaign %20, %20 means space, cheat, %20, space again, sheet. And then you could link people to this page. Then I will refresh it to make sure that it works. And then what happens now is that YouTube will be saved into the source field, and ActiveCampaign cheat sheet will be saved into the download custom field. How cool is that? So here, if we have, for example, have timdo@maxcolomberg.com, send it to me, and then we will get the welcome page again. Then we go over to our contacts. You see that Tim Doe is created. And then if we scroll down, you see that the source is YouTube and the download is ActiveCampaign cheat sheet. Now then what we can do is we can start a new automation when the download custom field changes. So then I have an automation that looks like this. I always call it adaptive because it's like an adaptive form, an adaptive automation. So this is an automation that you could use for all your different downloads. So you can have one form. You can basically have like one page on your website, right? You could just have a page like this and then you simply change this and then the download will also change. And then you can also only use one email with conditional content inside with what that person is going to receive. So here you see that the trigger is set up that when the download custom field changes from any value to any value, and then every time the contact is added or updated, this automation will start, and then it will send download for first name. So what it would send ActiveCampaign cheat sheet for Max in my case. So then I click edit, and then it will show you how you can set it up inside your email. So when you go over to these things, you see that I have like, it looks like it's very repeated, right? Like here it says like, here is the ActiveCampaign cheat sheet you asked for, here is the automation checklist you asked for, here is the automation you asked for example. So obviously we do not want to send all these three things inside one email. But what we can do is we can make it conditional what we send inside an email based on the download custom field. So here, if you click this wheel here and then manage conditions, then you see that this paragraph will only be shown to people whose custom field download equals ActiveCampaign cheat sheet. And this, for example, will only show to people that have download equals automation checklist. And this paragraph inside this box will only be shown to people whose download equals evergreen newsletter automation, for example. So to do that, you have to drag a new text block inside your email. Here is the blah, blah, blah. Now then you style it. And then again, you just click make conditional. And then you have to look up your download field. And then you can just say blah, blah, blah. This is what I want to send to those people. So let me delete this. Let me save it. So I think that's like a really cool advanced trick in case you have maybe multiple lead magnets, multiple content upgrades, that you can just have like a form with a hidden field called download, right? Let me go back here so that you know where people are coming from with the source field, but also what they want. And then as soon as that custom field changes, you start an automation like this. And if you want to have this automation, then I'll also make sure to link it for you in the description box below so that you can just import it, and then your download will be delivered. And I think this is really super duper easy. And then after that, you can like start your onboarding. Now, then we're almost done, but I still want to show you the other fields possibility, like other form possibilities that there are. So you, for example, can also add a floating bar to your website, a floating box, or a model window. But you have to keep in mind that the inline form is only available on the light plan, and a floating bar, floating box, and the model window are only available on the higher plans inside ActiveCampaign. So before I'm going to explain that, maybe just check if you have access to these things. But I will show you right now how those things work, just like a quick overview, because it's really, really similar. So here, for example, I created a floating bar. You can see it here at the bottom. It's really easy, right? And you can also style that the same way. You can also add CSS to the thing the same way. You can like add your buttons. You can also hide your branding if you want to. And then you can also say when you want to show it. Like, do you want this thing to like slide in? You want to have it to fade in, or just want to display? Do you want to show it maybe after someone scrolled 30% of your page? And do you want to have it at the top of your website or at the bottom of your website? And after someone interacted with your bar, like how long do you want to hide it? Do you want to hide it for 14 days? Do you never want to hide it? Or do you want to show it once and then hide for 14 days? Or for example, for 365 days? And also, do you want to include like a field like first name, for example? And then you can also click integrate there. And then you can also simple embed it and then add it to your page, and then it will also show up like that. And the other forms, you just can play around with that, but they're very, very, very similar. Then you can also add some images and things if you like. So that's this tutorial. The next tutorial is about how you can create like a cool onboarding sequence inside ActiveCampaign. I think that's really important. Like, imagine someone fills out your form and then you do not just want to send them like a bunch of random emails, but you really want to think well about what you want to send them. So you see the tutorial on screen right now. If you enjoyed this tutorial, give it a little thumbs up and be sure to subscribe if you want to see more marketing automation tutorials like this.